This is the Red Line, and I am your host, Jimmy Red. Thanks for tuning in. I am so excited to have you guys here. You don't understand how much sports stuff has went on, and we all know what's right around the corner, the NFL Draft. Yes, April 26th, the draft starts. I'm fired up about it. I am here to give you the Red Line by Jimmy Red's Mock Draft Top 10. Here we go. I hope you're ready. Strap in because it's going to be good. So at the 10th pick in the draft, the Oakland Raiders are up. They're on the clock. We all know Oakland has a new coach. That coach will be John Gruden, stepping down out of the booth, Monday Night Football, and he's going to become the head coach of the Oakland Raiders. Excuse me. Offensive-minded guy. When you think John Gruden, you automatically go quarterback because he had Gruden's quarterback camp. But he's going to go way off the chart because they have a quarterback, and he knows that. So he's going to go out, and he's going to get him a defensive guy. And into my mind, maybe the best defensive guy on the board. And Raekwon Smith. That kid is amazing. Raekwon Smith is a kid out of Georgia. I don't know how much you guys know about him, but he's a kid out of Georgia who made all the big plays for Georgia this year, going down through the playoffs into the national championship they've won. He was only a junior. He's 6'1", 235 pounds. He's got 10-inch hands. He's just an athletic beast. He ran a 40 and a 4.51. He can not only play linebacker, he is big enough and strong enough that he could step into a safety role. He could come off the end as a defensive end. You could drop him as a linebacker he is in coverage. You can blitz with him. And if need, you can set him out to play a slot receiver as a corner. So he's a multifunctional player, and I think Raekwon Smith is the best defensive player to come out. And I think he goes at number 10 to the Oakland Raiders. Number 9, we have the San Francisco 49ers. And we all know what the Niners did this year with their picks they got out of the draft and what they did to get Jimmy Garoppolo. They gave up a second-round draft pick to get Jimmy Garoppolo, who has turned out to be an absolute amazing quarterback. Signed him to a long-term deal. He's going to be there. So we know they don't need a quarterback, so you can take a quarterback off the board. They don't have to worry too much, I don't think, about running backs. Their offense is pretty set up. You might think offensive line, but obviously it showed the offensive line was fine. So I don't think they go offensive line. I think they go to the defensive side of the ball, and they go with Tremaine Edmonds, the kid out of Virginia Tech. He's a linebacker. He's an inside linebacker. At that. And he is 6'5", 250. So he's bigger than Raekwon. And he's got smaller hands, but he's bigger. And he's a little bit slower, roughly about the same speed. He ran a 4.54. He's not too stellar on the speed. But he didn't throw up much on the bench. He only threw up 19 reps, which we all know what the bench press is at the combine. It's 225 pounds, as many times as you can get it. And my linebacker needs to hit at least 20 to be in the NFL in my mind, and especially being a 250, he should be able to easily hit 20, and he didn't get 20. So in my mind, I don't think he's going to turn out well. He's got some building to do, a lot of muscle to build. I think he gets burned a lot his first few years in the NFL. But I think he's a good fit. I think he develops into a good player. I think he'll be fine. But it's going to take a couple years for this kid to turn into something. I think Raekwon, the other one I said before, who goes 10th, is ready to play right out of the gates. So I think he's a development project for him. But I think he gets burned along the process. I think he's more like an Eli Apple, who was drafted a couple years ago at cornerback for New York. Then we go up to number 8. This one here, I think, could potentially be the best player in the entire draft. He is amazing. I don't think you can really bust on this guy, to be honest with you. And he goes to number 8, which would be the Chicago Bears. And we all know what the Chicago Bears did last year. The Chicago Bears drafted a quarterback out of North Carolina in Mitch Trubisky. Looked pretty good. But guess what? They're going to protect that investment. They're going to go get the offensive guard Quentin Nelson out of Notre Dame. I think that is an amazing pickup. You get your franchise quarterback, then you get somebody to protect him. And this kid is an absolute beast. He's 6'5", 330 pounds of just man to push people around. Absolutely incredible. He hit the bench press 35 reps. 35 reps. So he can throw it up. Bang, bang, bang. And that's what I need in an offensive lineman. He's young. I don't think you can bust with him because you should have seen the blocks the kid laid in college. I watched him. He was all over. He can pole. He can just run downfield. He knows where to make. He's an amazing guy. That's your can't bust player in my mind in Quentin Nelson. I think he goes number 8 to the Chicago Bears, and they protect their investment with last year's quarterback of Mitch Trubisky. Number 7, you have the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. And everybody knows when you think Tampa Bay, you think of one thing. At least I always have. I thought defense every time I think Tampa Bay. Because that's who they won a championship with, is their defense. They had John Gruden as a head coach, and the man who built that defense was none other than Tony Dungy. So, they built a great defense, so when I think of Tampa Bay, I think of defense. Now, don't get me wrong, they do have offensive players. They have a franchise quarterback in Jameis Winston, who I don't know what he's going to develop into. I think he's reached his max potential, so I'm curious to see if he gets better this year. But they do have a great wide receiver in Mike Evans. They just got him signed again to another long-term deal. So Mike Evans has just signed another deal there, and he's going to stay with the Bucs, which is amazing. They got him a couple years ago out of Texas A&M, a great pickup. They got another great wide receiver coming out of Texas A&M this year. So Texas A&M knows how to throw out wide receivers. Awesome. So thinking of that, though, like I was saying, I think Tampa Bay goes defense this year. So Tampa Bay ends up grabbing a defensive player off the board. And who do they end up getting? I think they end up getting the cornerback out of Ohio State and Denzel Ward, which is probably the best cornerback in the game. He's shut down, locked down. He's 5'10", 190 pounds. He's a 4'3", 240. Fast kid. Got a vertical of 39 inches. And he's a better prospect coming out of college than Eli Apple. And we all know how shut down Eli Apple was in college. This kid he's actually about the same size as Eli Apple, but I think he's a little faster. And I think if they get him in the right training, which he's going to Tampa, we know Tampa's got a good defense, and that's how they've been trained. If you get this kid in the right training, perfect fit. He's only a junior, so being still young, that means he can develop. He might struggle his first year or two, but he's young. He's not an old talent yet. Once you get to your senior years, and you get coming out your senior year, you get a little older, and guess what happens? It's harder to teach you. I think being a junior, you still got enough time to teach this kid. So I think it's a great pickup for Tampa. Next, there's a lot of stuff I think that could happen at 6. Because we know Indianapolis has a new general manager. Their new general manager is a very smart guy. He's already traded down from 3 down to 6. He did that trade with the New York Jets. Reason being, they know they have a franchise quarterback, and they need more than just one player. So he traded that pick away and received quite a bit of stuff for it. Great idea, I think, for them. But I think they could potentially trade again. Yes, I think the Indianapolis Colts could trade again. I think the Colts could trade with the Buffalo Bills, who are set in 12th, and the Bills could get that pick. And if the Bills get that pick, I know this is wild, I believe that the Buffalo Bills are going to do something that could be pretty big. And we all know they got rid of Tyrod Taylor. He's no longer their quarterback. So we know what they're going up for. You don't jump in a draft that high to just jump. They're going to get a quarterback. So I believe the Bills jump up in this draft and they go select the Heisman Trophy winner out of Oklahoma, Mr. Baker Mayfield. He's 6. They got him listed as 6'1", but I don't think he's 6'1". I think he's 5'11". In my mind, he's 5'11". 215, and he runs a 40 and a 4.84. So he's pretty fast on a 40. But the biggest problem with me and him is You're putting him in New York, where there's a lot of places to get in trouble. We all saw what he did in Oklahoma. He was grabbing his crotch, and he's got a police video of him running from police. I don't want a guy who's going to run my franchise having a police video out there running from police. If they get this kid in the right environment, they get his head on straight, he could turn out and be as high as a Drew Brees. He could be really, really, really good. He could be a Drew Brees caliber player because he had the highest passer rating and yards for a college quarterback. He broke them both consecutive years. He is that good. But the Big 12 really obviously doesn't have much defense. There's a lot of offense. But this kid has the potential to do it. But if he doesn't keep his head on straight, he could be a Johnny Manziel. It'd be a huge bust. Johnny Manziel said right after, not right after, he said, just came out probably 2 weeks ago, the Browns should have did their research on me. I didn't know my X's and O's. What? You're a quarterback and you didn't know your X's and O's? So, I think Baker Mayfield has the potential to be as high as a Drew Brees caliber quarterback and as low as a Johnny Manziel. I think it's a risky move for the Bills, but they don't have a franchise quarterback because you can't put it in the hands of Nathan Peterman because we saw what happened there. So I think they have to make this move and they have to go get Baker and at least take a shot on something. But if they don't trade, we all know that pick belongs to the Indianapolis Colts. And the Indianapolis Colts have a lot of stuff they need. And there's a few players above them that I really believe, 2 of them to be exact, that they would really like to get their hands on. But they're not going to have that opportunity. So, the Indianapolis Colts, I think, go with another player that I believe could be a bust, but not. I think his bust factor is pretty low. He started his rookie year in a defense, because he's a defensive player, that is an NFL style. It's produced a lot of defensive players, and it's known for a lot of stuff. And I believe the Indianapolis Colts go get Micah Fitzpatrick, the kid out of Alabama. He started as a true freshman in a system with Nick Saban. So this kid has played 3 years under Nick Saban, and he started. He's a cornerback / safety who's 6'1" at 200 pounds. He runs the 40 in a 4.46. So he's a fast little guy. He's been coached under Nick Saban. He can play corner. He can play safety. So you get 2 positions in one, and he's got a low bust factor. And the Colts need a player who can play multiple positions because they got a lot of problems they got to solve. I think it's a great place for him to land. Next, number 5. The Denver Broncos are on the board. We all know what the Denver Broncos need. We all know it. John Elway. So you know what they're going to get. Well, it's been rumored and said that they like one quarterback a lot. And I like this quarterback a lot too. I like him a lot. And they're going to go and get him, I think, right here. They're going to get Josh Rosen, the kid out of UCLA. I think it's going to be good. They would really like to get the kid, I think, that is next in my picks, who's going to go 4 if he's there. But if not, they go with Josh Allen. Josh Allen is a 6'4" kid, so he's tall. He can see over that line. He's big. Comes from money. That's one issue I think people see. Because how much does he really want it? It's going to be tough. But he's big. The only thing is he's skinny. Kind of skinny. You're putting him in a cold weather area. We're going to have to see how that works out. And I think that they have to get a quarterback here because they tried the quarterback deal a couple years ago with Paxton Lynch, and that failed. And they got to get a franchise quarterback. So I think this Josh Rosen kid is going to be who they go for, and I think it'll be a great pickup. And with the mastermind that you have of John Elway, I think this kid can develop into a great, great quarterback. I hope they make the right pick and take this kid. And then we go up to number 4. The second pick for this team in the top 5. They got 2 of the first 5 picks in the draft, and they are the Cleveland Browns. The Cleveland Browns, I think, at the 4th pick in the draft, go and do something amazing. They went and got a guy last year who was a defensive end, which I think was a great pickup. Well, with the 4th pick, I think they go and get another defensive end for the other side. They go get Bradley Chubb, the kid out of North Carolina State. Wow. This kid, I've watched videos of this guy, and some of the stuff that you can see him do in these videos is crazy. You think he's going to bull rush, and he'll fake one way, and he'll get the defender leaning, and then he can step back inside and swat and go through, and it opens the defender up. And the kid just has it figured out how to do it. He's got the technique figured out. He's got the physics figured out. He's got the body build for it, and he's got the speed. Let me tell you, this kid has got what he's got. He's a senior, so he's already kind of pretty much developed. You can still teach him stuff in the NFL, but he's developed. He's young, more developed. And that's what you need in, I think, a defensive line, defensive end guy. And he can come off and flat fly through them. He's strong in everything. He threw up 24 bench presses. He did a 4.65 40, and he's 6'4". Hoss of a guy. He reminds me, just looking at his build and the way he runs and what he can do, I'm going on a limb here. This guy reminds me of a Dwight Freeney. And I think if Indy can get their hands on him, they're going to get him. And they'll definitely take him. And I think that if Denver can get their hands on him, who's above Indianapolis, they could potentially take him and put him alongside of Von Miller. And they can have a duo of defensive ends. Man, how crazy would that be? You could put a duo of defensive ends in Cleveland, a defensive end duo in Denver, or you could put a guy in Indianapolis where an iconic defensive end played for multiple years in Dwight Freeney. So he's going to go somewhere and be taught by some great, great people. I think he is going to be an absolute stud. Bradley Chubb at number 4. Number 3, the New York Jets. That was the one where the New York Jets jumped up with Indianapolis, made the trade. They jumped because they had their eye on something. You don't just jump in the draft that high if you don't have your eye on a thing. They got their eye on a quarterback. And I think, oh man, this one's got me twisted up right now. But I'm going to go with my gut that I've been feeling. I've been listening to a lot of stuff. A lot of people say the kid that they're going to take, his name, Josh Allen, quarterback, Wyoming. A lot of people say this kid could be the next like Carson Wentz because they saw what they lost out on with Carson Wentz. A lot of people did coming out of a smaller school. But I don't see that. Josh Allen is more, he reminds me of like a Big Ben. He's 6'5", 233, can throw the football an absolute country mile, just launch it. But I'm going out on a limb here, and I really am. I think he could be the bust of the year. I don't see him being as good as everybody makes him out to be. I think his high end of a quarterback in the NFL, his high end is a Big Ben, maybe a Carson Wentz. That's his high end, but I don't think he gets there. And his low end, oh boy, his low end could be bad. I mean, he could be, holy smokes, he could be down to like the Jameis, like not really bad, but he could be just like a Jameis Winston. Maybe even lower than that. So, I think he could be a bust. I really do. I think Josh Allen could be your bust of the first round. No joke. That's my pick, Josh Allen, the number 3 who goes to the Jets, and they get him because he's a big body guy and cold weather. That's why they like him. But I think he's the bust. I really do. I think he could be your potential first bust of the draft. Then we go up to number 2, and that is the New York Football Giants. A lot of rumors going on there in New York. They're putting out a lot of stuff to the public, saying, "Oh, we got Eli. We're not going to get one. Oh, we really like Saquon. Oh, we're looking at defensive ends. Oh, we really like Sam Darnold. Oh, we'll take Josh Allen. Oh, this." well, we got this. I hate to say it, but we saw what kind of problems New York gave the city of New York, shall I say, gave the Giants when they said they weren't going to start Eli. So I don't see him taking... I know you can't pass up quarterbacks this year because they're going to be so good. But I don't think they draft a quarterback. They go and get a running back out of Penn State. Probably the best, well-rounded offensive player to come out of this draft this year, and Saquon Barkley. They go get the junior out of Penn State, who's 6 foot, 230 pounds, can absolutely fly, is built like a house, and had no problem coming out of the backfield and catching the football, playing as a slot receiver, doing punt returns, handing the ball off, hitting in between the tackles, whatever he had to do, he did it. The kid is a machine. I think he could be, I'm going out on a limb here, I think he could be better than Christian McCaffrey his rookie year. I think his rookie year could be better than Christian McCaffrey's. I'm a huge Christian McCaffrey fan, and I'm not going to lie to nobody. This kid could be better than Christian McCaffrey. He has the tools. He's bigger than Christian McCaffrey. He's stronger than Christian McCaffrey. And if he goes to New York, he doesn't have that dual threat quarterback like Christian does here in Carolina. So that means he'll get the ball to pretty much run. Here, with Christian McCaffrey in Charlotte, we have to worry about who's going to get it. I think Saquon Barkley could have a better career if he gets landed in this offensive mind that they have here in New York. I think he could be a rock star of a player and get a huge contract after his first one's done. So at number 2, Saquon Barkley to the New York Giants. And that brings me to the number 1 pick of the 2018 NFL mock draft. Everybody's been debating on this one all year. And a lot of people say, well, it should be Rosen. Well, it should be Allen. Well, it should be Saquon. Well, it could be Bradley Chubb. Well, there shouldn't be anybody. Nobody should even check up on who this should be. Sam Darnold should be the number 1 pick in the NFL draft. The quarterback out of USC. Why, you say? Well, the kid is 6'3", so he's tall. Can see over the offensive line. He's 220. He's young. And the kid's got it. He just wants to win. He's done it in big games. He's done it in small games. But everybody says, well, he throws a lot of interceptions. Okay. There's a guy who played in the NFL. His name was Peyton Manning. One of the greatest quarterbacks to ever play the game. Guess what he did? He threw a lot of interceptions in his NFL career. He had 1 year, one out of his whole NFL career, where he did not throw multiple or 2-digit numbers, as in 10 or more interceptions in a year. Peyton Manning had 1 season that way. 1. Sam Darnold threw like 7 interceptions through the first 3 or 4 games and then fell off quick. And he threw like 2 interceptions for the rest of the year. But you got to also remember, who did he lose? Oh, he lost his number 1 target in Juju Smith-Schuster. So he had to re-find another target. You got to give the kid time to develop that. That is your number 1 pick. The kid has it. He's got the drive. Sam Darnold, number 1 pick to the Browns. Does he fix the organization? I can't tell you that. I can't tell you if he's going to make the team great. But I can tell you Sam Darnold should be the number 1 pick in the draft. Easily, hands down. So, that's the top 10 of the 2018 NFL mock draft, according to Red. If you want to know who I think your team will get, send a message via Twitter to @JimmyRed326 or to the Roundabout Productions Twitter page, asking me a team name and who I think your team will draft. I will then send you a video via Twitter commented towards you, letting you know who I think will go to your team if they're not in the top 10. So, send the questions in. I'll answer them. I'll come out to you. But now you know my top 10 in the 2018 NFL draft. I'm out on the red line. See you guys.